Darksiders is a very peculiar franchise. Games from this series managed to accumulate a very devoted fanbase. Yet Darksiders haven't managed to leave a lasting footprint on the mainstream gaming landscape. I heard about those games in the past, but I never got to play them. I was even interested in the first Darksiders game, but after watching some footage, I just couldn't get past the fact that War and his shadowy companion speak with the voices of Illidan from WoW and Mark Hamill's Joker from Arkham games.
I sacrificed that birthright long ago.
Because I would not have the last of heaven's honor die with its champion.
But first, if you would be so kind, like not going back in your little cage. It's tragic, really.
Darksiders Genesis is my first venture into this world. Isometric camera seems enticing as I associate it with more tactical gameplay, where player gets to control their environment. On the other hand, I'm aware that for most fans this is a big departure from the series' roots. It doesn't change the fact that Darksiders Genesis is fun. Big guy.
Bigger one.
We fear nothing.
So, okay, this is
it's
easy. And get ready?
Yeah.
Spot jump.
It was easier than that.
Okay, that wasn't that hard. This is the late review, Darksiders Genesis. This review is based on 34 hours of playing the game. During this time I have finished my first playthrough on hard difficulty. Then I acquired every power up and every creature core. I have beaten every arena stage and got a score of over 70,000 points in Endless Arena. My final challenge was to complete every chapter in the game on apocalyptic difficulty. Needless to say, I got all 30 achievements available, which translates into 100% achievement completion. I want to clarify again, this is the first Darksiders game that I have played. I know a little bit about this series, but I had never played previous games. It's important to state that fact, as I strongly believe that previous experiences shape expectations. So let's analyze the core of Darksiders Genesis.
Looks like the battle's been going on for a while. The front walls still hold. Samael's forces will be drawn there, weakening his defenses elsewhere.
Darksiders series always use this over-the-top fantasy art style. Huge shoulder pads, impractical armor, most likely too heavy to be worn, and fairy tale-like overextended character proportions. But who cares when it looks so awesome? I like this art style. It can create gorgeous views, sceneries and memorable characters, as well as interesting enemies. As a World of Warcraft veteran, I'm really familiar with this kind of visual art direction and I really enjoy it. Bah! With the isometric view, some of Darksiders Genesis areas look like taken out straight from Diablo 3. You could even place Asmodan in Darksiders and he would fit perfectly. This is the graphical design that forgoes the realistic values and dives deep into stylish, fabulous creations aimed at being impressive. Levels in Darksiders Genesis are very extensive, filled with collectibles and some side activities. It might seem daunting at first. Even the map offered by the developers seems a little bit unintuitive at first look, but in the end it's all about getting used to the exploration. The vastest chapters allow for riding on horseback. This way exploration becomes more manageable. Completionists should also appreciate this feature as it makes backtracking less mundane. The hellish landscapes created by the developers look terrific. There's a lot of care placed in here. Detailed desert fortresses, decaying swamps, frozen wastelands, dark caves, or even a cursed treasury. I really like the heavy emphasis on theme of each location. Decay in Belial's domain, hopelessness, ruin and sorrow in the remains of Eden, especially when you can see the remnants of once great civilization. Developers like to flex, showing players wide shots of the whole levels. Artistry behind level design is incredibly strong. Music also stands at a very high level. The generous use of choirs gives the soundtrack its own distinct feeling. Major bosses have their own tracks which emphasizes and separates their encounters from other foes. Astarte's sad and desperate theme underlines the tragic downfall of the character and the whole race. A downfall started by the horsemen. It's perfect. And why wouldn't it be perfect? I did some digging and found out that the composer behind Darksiders Genesis OST is Gareth Cooker, the same person who scored Ori and the Blind Forest as well as its successor. Those tracks are one of my favorite, most emotional game soundtracks. So yeah, Darksiders Genesis got a heavy hitter in the music department.
Eden. It still burns after all this time.
This place, it's a tomb. No one should be here.
The voice acting is really solid. Again, developers got some solid performers like Troy Baker, Liam O'Brien, Phil Lamar, and of course Keith David with his characteristic deeper voice.
Horseman, Samael, you saved me the trouble of hunting you down. If you weren't such thorns in my side, I'd almost be impressed.
The strong voice work enhances characters' charisma and gives them identity. So not only do they look distinct, they also behave and sound in their own, usually twisted way. Thanks to it, after a short time spent in Darksiders Genesis, I got rid of this Illidan vibe and started treating War as a fully fledged character. In Darksiders Genesis, player takes control of 2 out of 4 horsemen, Strife and War. Strife is a nimble gunslinger. He uses 2 guns and specializes in long-range combat. His dodge mechanic allows for shorter dashes but also gives player more control. Strife also has a potential for a little bit higher damage than his brother. War, the protagonist of the first Darksiders game, is the second playable character. His kit focuses mostly on melee fighting. He's also more durable. Strife and War offer 2 different approaches to gameplay. Strife eliminates threats from afar, while War dives headfirst into combat. This is a good time to analyze each horseman a little bit more. Let's start with Strife, as this is his first showing in Darksiders games as a playable character. Strife's main way of dealing damage are his pistols. He has a dedicated button responsible for melee attacks, but as he is more squishy and can achieve higher DPS at range, there is no need to get close to the enemies. Strife can use 2 ammo types at any given point. The basic ammo type is infinite, so players can always shoot at the opponents. Other ammunition types can get depleted, so players have to look for small purple ammo packs. And they are tightly tied into character progression. Also, ammunition types can be changed at any given moment. Strife uses his own mechanic called Hot Streak. A bar is slowly increasing while the horseman is shooting at his targets. When it gets to full, Strife goes into Hot Streak mode, changing the effect of the equipped ammunitions. The bar depletes as player shoots a more powerful version of their base projectiles. For example, the base ammunition type makes Strife shoot much faster in Hot Streak mode. The charge shot, which takes some time to deal the highest damage, automatically deals full damage on Hot Streak mode. Fire ammo changes into flamethrower. Hot Streak opens up new ways of dealing damage and introduces an active rhythm to players' actions outside of simply shooting and dodging enemy attacks. Each character also has a Wrath bar located under their HP bar. Wrath abilities are a short, powerful cooldowns, either increasing damage or survivability. Strife can create shadow clones of himself who will shoot at enemies. He can also create a massive beam, damaging all enemies in its range. Wrath abilities allow to squish in some extra damage at chosen moments. Wrath, a resource, represents additional ways of controlling the combat, which is a good design. Okay, so that's Strife. Now, his bulky brother, War.
Oh, and I'm not alone.
War dominates the close combat. His playstyle is very similar to previous Darksiders games. Players can build up various combos from his fast and strong attacks. A very fun activity allowing for some expression in playstyle. War is not as fluent in dodging as he uses one long dash, losing some control when compared to Strife. As he exceeds in melee, he is also able to parry most of enemy strikes. The parry mechanics relies on proper timing and recognition of opponent's attack patterns. War also relies more on the execution mechanic. It's available for both horsemen, yet it's War who benefits more from it. For execution to be active, the foe's health has to drop below certain threshold. Then the prompt appears and either War or Strife can perform a brutal, well-animated finishing move.
You're done.
Execution. Executions look awesome. War and Strife use different set of animations to finish off each enemy types, which creates this gory spectacle. From gameplay standpoint, executions finish off enemies, which could take some more time to be brought to their knees. Moreover, they make your character invincible until the animation is done. This is the key to War's gameplay. You see, there is usually no reason for Strife to take time reducing the distance between him and enemies to perform the takedown move, as he can simply continue DPSing, especially when hot streak is up. It's faster and more fluent, but War is surrounded by tens of enemies at many occasions. Melee combat is chaotic. Very often it's hard to recognize every foe's attack in time, so picking up enemy for execution gives you some breathing space. It allows to reassess surroundings and plan the next move. Also, you want to take out the strongest hitters from the clump of enemies, so you don't have to worry about their attacks in the great smash pit of bodies. Executions are very useful during fights against mini-bosses, as it can make the fight a little bit shorter. Major bosses don't give you that luxury. War's Wrath abilities are Stone Skin, the defensive cooldown reducing damage taken, the Charge, which I almost never used, and the Blade Gazer, which was my most used skill on this horseman. Blade Gazer is an area of effect ability. It deals high damage, and as War jumps into the air to then plunge down on the enemies, he is invulnerable for a brief moment. In my opinion, this is the greatest quality of Blade Gazer, as it can be used similarly to Execution. It gives you time to reassess the situation while dealing high damage. Instead of ammunition, War unlocks various enhancements for his mighty sword, Chaos Eater. Earth Splitter creates a fissure wave after the third combo attack, moving in front of War. Flamebrand adds fire damage, allowing War to spin in a flame whirlwind. Potent Vampiric Rune allows for self-healing while dealing damage. The most useful, in my opinion, Death Touch, allows for branding the enemies, so when they die they explode, dealing damage to other foes and spreading the Death Touch. So already we can see that the basic design of our heroes is pretty good. There is some depth to it, some choices and options for player expression.
Okay, he's not that hard. Yeah. Jump through it. Add more health if you need some.
Okay, his left side.
Got him.
Got him.
There are more of those.
Two main protagonists allow for two different styles of gameplay for a single player. Darksiders Genesis capitalizes on it by introducing co-op play. You can invite other players to join your adventures. Developers dug deep within gaming history to uncover a forgotten artifact of the past: the split screen. Jokes aside, it's a praiseworthy addition. I actually got to play in co-op with a friend. It works fine. My only two grievances would be the very limited field of vision in co-op, which is understandable, it's a split screen, right? The other problem is the unintuitive joining process. I mean, it seems unintuitive at first, but it actually works really well. My friend and I used Steam Remote Play for co-op. There is no way for other players to join before you start the session, but in each level there are those meeting stones which allow you to invite other players to your active session. It's easy, pleasant, but not obvious for newcomers, as I noticed multiple threads on the internet asking about connection in Genesis co-op.
Nice.
Split screen co-op.
Yes, it worked.
Yes, we've got it! Yes! Okay, so...
The first dive into the world of Darksiders Genesis is very chaotic and a little bit confusing. The aforementioned inability to start the game with your friend already playing is the first hiccup, but it gets resolved fast. Then there comes the vast map, a lot of collectibles and those various colorful blobs exploding out of every enemy killed. At first it's a lot to take in. Add to this the fact that players have to get used to their abilities, horse riding and abilities while being on horse. For someone like me, who is not used to Darksiders gameplay, it felt like an assault on my senses. Still, it's easy to sort those things out. Purple little blobs are ammo packs for Strife, yellow blobs replenish your wrath meter, green orbs replenish HP, and the blue souls are your currency. Combat is responsive. Depending on character, your gameplay will be a little bit different. Each of the enemies has its own thing, which synergizes beautifully with other foes. The base enemies in the first chapter are cannon fodder. Still, they can throw a spear from time to time, which hurts. Then the hounds appear with their pouncing attack. Molten bombers throw bombs. After that, legion commanders join in, a strong commanding demons with plethora of strong attacks. Foes are introduced in a manageable manner. Player is given enough time to get used to new enemy attacks. Developers made one rookie mistake. Every type of enemy has a chance to drop a creature core, a big violet orb, which after pickup can be used in character progression. More about progression later. I want to talk about creature cores laying on the ground during encounters. Each time a new type of creature core gets picked up by the player, the game pauses. The reason is to give players time to read the effects given by the core. Cool. Imagine now the experience of a new player during first few encounters when they are constantly interrupted by the cores mid-fight. Combat should not be stopped by anyone other than the player.
I'll show you in a second.
Mysterious object.
It pulses with energy.
The argument here could be that in order to pick up the core, you have to press a button. Unfortunately, the same button is assigned to executions, which actually prolongs this issue well into late game. It's more frustrating while playing as war. On multiple occasions, in the heat of combat, I was trying to execute enemy only to find out that it was creature core prompt. I really don't understand why those things couldn't be picked up automatically, also without pausing the game. Just show what kind of creature core got picked up in the bottom of the screen or at the side, and that's all. Such an easy solution, or at least assign a different button press to it. I haven't played previous Darksiders games, but after watching Whitelight's 3-hour video about Darksiders 2, a very good video, I recommend watching it, I realized that Genesis plays pretty much the same as other Darksiders games, but with changed camera angle, especially if you play as War. But for both me and my friend, our first impressions brought back memories of older games from PS2 era. You know, showers of glimmering collectibles. It really takes you back to Legacy of Kain games or titles like the first God of Wars. Still, the way Darksiders do it could be compared to boomer shooters, a part of the legacy of gaming reforged into modern experience. And that's commendable.
This feels like a PS2 game, but in a
Yeah.
good way.
Like a very kinda old school design.
Yep.
But I think like that's the thing with the Darksiders game. They are designed as those console like PlayStation games of old.
Yeah. It does work though. It's fun.
So with the enjoyable combat comes its greatest challenges, boss fights. Genesis offers plenty of those. Listen, I'm a big fan of well-designed, challenging encounters. For me, those are the highlights of my adventures. Shit. With the isometric view of Darksiders Genesis, I hoped for some tactical fights with various types of enemy abilities and attacks. The first boss, the Hollow Fiend, is such a promising opening into the game's foe slaying. This hulking beast has varied attacks with really wide melee sweeps, barrage of bombs, fireballs being thrown at the players and a wave of consecutive explosions traveling in a straight line. All of those abilities offer a reliable way of being avoided. Well, bombs are a little bit tricky, but other abilities are pretty easy to avoid. War players have a choice between dodging the melee sweep or trying to get the parry timing. Hollowfiend starts to summon smaller enemies, then he also uses a shockwave attack which has to be jumped through. It adds verticality into the encounter. There's even a second phase where melee sweeps summon a big fireball to follow them. It's not a hard encounter, but it had me hoping that developers get it. They know how to design boss fights. And that's partially true. With the staggering amount of boss fights, some ought to be better than others. Various bosses are later reused as mini-bosses in future levels. The major demon lords are definitely a highlight in this regard, as they show some craftsmanship in their design. Unfortunately, in the end it doesn't matter. It's time to talk about Chaos and Anarchy forms. At a certain point in the story, War and Strife unlock their ultimate ability. Chaos form for War and Anarchy form for Strife. After filling yet another bar, players can invoke the demonic version of a horseman and change him into this hulking monster of immense power. It doesn't last long, but it's enough time to degrade an encounter. You see, Chaos and Anarchy forms grant invulnerability. Horsemen do not receive damage, while dishing absolute sick amounts of pain themselves. I totally get the idea. The ability to grant players power so that they could feel like an actual boss in the fight. It's amazing, it feels awesome. I have no problems with this ability working in regular encounters, but it drastically simplifies boss fights. Enemy mechanics stop being a threat if you cannot get damaged, and the sheer amount of damage done by the player could on some difficulty levels be just enough to DPS down the entire enemy HP bar. Even on apocalyptic difficulty, Chaos and Anarchy forms vastly undermine boss encounters. I guess someone could say, don't like it, then don't use it. Then I'll respond, but it's an integral gameplay mechanic. It's like saying that if winning motorcycle races is easy for you, then do it on a bicycle. This is a problem, not only from my personal point of view, a person craving challenging boss fights, but also from the general scope of gameplay design. Introducing a mechanic that devalues challenge is a mistake. If you are interested in my ramblings about specific bosses, then watch my video Bosses of Darksiders Genesis. It should be up a couple of days after this video. As soon as it will be up, I'll place the link in the description.
Okay. You know what? Clear up some of those enemies, huh? Will you? Let's just use brainless mode. Brainless mode.
Demon forms actually work really nice in the arena, another mode unlocked during the playthrough. In arena, players fight against waves of enemies. It's a place to hone your skills, practice and grind for more souls or for better creature cores. Completing every challenge in arena unlocks the endless mode, in which players can try themselves for how long they will be able to stay alive in an endless clash against progressively stronger enemies. In here, playing around using the most valuable skills is crucial. In my longest run, I kept my demon forms reserved for boss waves.
Actually, it's pretty weak. 30th wave. Okay. Demon form. Let's clear it up.
After 30th wave, the game throws at you multiple mini-bosses at the same time, and the arena becomes this mosh pit of huge monsters. This is when Chaos form proves to be necessary, but it doesn't devalue the encounter. There are so many strong enemies present that it forces you to prioritize the most dangerous target first. After that you have to deal with the remaining mini-bosses in the regular form. Arena presents the best combat experience, allowing for unleashing characters' true potential.
Get rid of that angel. Okay, I see who's the main target now. Come on.
Combat, progression, hunt for collectibles are not the only pillars of Darksiders gameplay. There are also puzzles. Genesis gets really creative with its puzzles. While some of them require platforming, which is not the most pleasant given the isometric camera, The conundrums relying on players' intellect and problem solving offer various levels of challenge. War and Strife can learn different sets of additional abilities. Strife learns to open portals or to use electromagnetic devices. War unlocks a glaive which can be tossed. Glaive can catch on fire and carry that fire to other places. He can also unlock gauntlets, allowing him to use specific pressure plates or to destroy crystal formations. Puzzles start from basic usage of skills and evolve into challenges constructed around mixing multiple abilities and traversals. Strife's portal ability can be used to get altitude. It's not just a means of travel. By using grip ability, players can catch an item being on the other side of the portal, or they can throw a bomb through the portal which will get rid of obstacles. Puzzles in Darksiders Genesis break the overused standards of modern day gaming. You see, the glaive toss can be used to interact with those weird switches on some pillars. In most games that would be it, the same kind of challenge wherever the blue plates appears. Darksiders break the formula. There are plates which also take into account time. So, in one location I discovered 2 pillars with blue switches on them. Naturally, I tried the obvious targeted glaive toss, but it wouldn't work. One switch would turn blue before glaive would reach the next one. I'd tried to figure it out for so long, being sure that I'm missing something. It worked before, why doesn't it work in here? This is an exercise in creativity. The simple solution to the puzzle is to stay at the correct place and just throw the glaive forward in a quick motion, without targeting anything, so it would touch both plates on its way forward. It's simple, it's obvious, but I realized that I was conditioned by the modern games into thinking that one puzzle has only one way of interacting with it. This is a very close-minded approach. Darksiders proves that puzzles can be challenging in an innovative way even when using the same obstacles and elements. Developers put a lot of care in designing their challenges. It's not only about players' intellect though. Spark puzzles challenge players' dexterity in controlling an orb traveling through energy corridors. The longer it goes, the faster the orb gets, which also makes it harder to control. You can see how much fun developers had with constructing various mazes for players to beat. It's a minigame within a puzzle. It's engaging and breaks the endless combat to offer some other kind of challenge. Puzzles in Darksiders Genesis are fantastic. Exploration in the game relies heavily on additional challenges and puzzles. It's great, collectibles do not only have to be found. Most of them are used as a reward for beating an encounter or solving a mystery, a conundrum, environmental challenge, or a simple puzzle. The game likes to test players' perceptiveness and intellect. Chapters are structured in a little bit of a Metroidvania fashion. Some of the early levels include elements which could only be beaten by using abilities gained in later parts of the game. Darksiders welcomes replaying some stages multiple times. This topic neatly ties with character progression and grind.
So the firewall. Oh. So, let's talk about progression and builds. Strife and War have separate power levels. Each power level depends on the stats, attack, graph and HP. Horseman's strength is also determined by the amount of collectibles found. Newly unlocked skills automatically raise character's power. There are multiple hidden pieces of armor, as well as healthstone and wrathstone shards. Amassing those increases HP meter and wrath meter of a horseman, so exploration and revisiting chapters are rewarded. Souls are the base currency in Darksiders Genesis. Both main coins scattered around the world are additional high-tier currency. Volgrim acts as an upgrade vendor. Players can spend currency in order to upgrade their health vial, buy some additional HP shards, wrath shards, keys to unlock trickster doors, or even some new skills. Then a little bit later in the story, This appears as the second vendor. She upgrades direct horseman attacks, unlocks new combos, and in general refreshes the combat. Now, there is a small difference here. Strife's upgrades are mostly passive effects, faster and stronger bullets, longer hot streak. Those gunslinger additions are easier to understand, yet they don't change Strife's playstyle significantly. When it comes to war, his upgrades are basically new combo strings, new animations and combinations which actually make combat more interesting and add new options for war players. It creates a feeling that Strife's gameplay style is easier, while war rewards skill, which is not entirely true. Both playstyles have their own challenges. Strife is pretty strong as long as he's able to dodge. Hellish plains contain monsters able to close the gap really fast. Those creatures pose a threat to Strife. As I said before, war is more about mastering combos, parry and dodge times. He is all about conscious decisions made in the heat of battle. While I started mainly as Strife player, I grew to appreciate both playstyles.
Damn, that's satisfying! Damn, that's satisfying!
The heart of Darksiders' Genesis progression and build making beats within the creature core system. Developers present the progression tree with numerous nodes. The nodes can be filled with creature cores of player's choice. There are two types of cores, minor and major ones. Major ones acquired from bosses are scattered deeper within the tree. There are no artificial gating mechanisms. Players can place as many cores inside the tree as they want. The only limitation is the overall number of nodes. Creature core effects offer variety, starting from flat, passive, percentage-based increases like for example +1 or +4 attack increase. Some creature cores offer a situational proc effects, some can even affect specific horseman skills. Then there are limitations within the tree nodes. Every creature core can be leveled up to 3rd level. Some tree nodes acknowledge only 1st or 2nd level effects from the cores. There are also bonuses for matching the node type with creature core type. It all matters and creates a foundation for rich build making options.
Melee attacks, I don't know. Dagon is good for playing war, but not that good for Strife.
In reality, players will end up placing most of their creature cores into the tree. Passive boosts especially. The ones offering a higher percentage value are too precious to be passed on. Procs are situational. At least there are some possibilities to craft neat synergies between cores assigned to specific skills. Still, it doesn't feel very influential in the end. Some of the creature cores are just vastly stronger than others. It ends up with a situation when your main problem will be deciding which cores do you want to place in nodes restricted to lower level effects. So, there is some build making potential, but it's pretty low. Now grind. If you want to level up every core in your possession, then you have to grind. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you will have to run chapters multiple times. No, there are two other ways of obtaining creature cores. First, Arena. Just hop into Arena, preferably the Endless mode. This way player gets not only creature cores, but also a lot of souls. The currency will also be needed because not every enemy can be found in the Arena. For example, major bosses appear only in the main game's chapters. You need to kill them 3 times to get their creature cores to level 3. Fear not, developers got you covered. After completing each stage in the story, Valgrim adds a core treasure box to his list of goods. It grants one random creature core from its respective region. But it's not a microtransaction loot box. Nah, even the demon Valgrim has enough integrity to sell his randomized reward boxes for the in-game currency. He sells it for regular souls. What's more, you can only get a creature core that you miss. No doubles. This is great as it decreases the amount of senseless grind and allows player to spend excessive souls. Such a good design choice. The stronger creature cores result in higher character power level, and it will be needed, especially if players want to progress through higher difficulties. Difficulty in Darksiders Genesis works similar to games like Diablo 3, where players choose the difficulty before entering the level. It mostly refers to enemy strength and aggression. Apocalyptic difficulty, which is the pinnacle of the challenge in the game, also adds tougher enemies earlier, as well as new monsters. From what I've noticed, harder difficulties do not give you more resources. The only increase might be assigned to greater number of enemies, but not to a single foe being worth any extra souls. So every player starts the game on normal, then after the first chapter you can change the difficulty. There is suggested power level assigned to every chapter, but I would consider it very lightly. In my first playthrough I immediately changed the difficulty to hard, for achievement related reasons. I was behind on character power on almost every chapter and it didn't matter that much. Towards the end of the game I even caught up with the requirements. The suggested power level skyrockets to immense heights on apocalyptic difficulty. I don't know why they did that. 1900 is unachievable. I did my run on 1500 and it was mostly a walk in the park, so my advice would be to just try out the game on different settings and decide if it suits you. Those artificial requirements aren't a good measure. I hate those angels. Come on, dude. Come back. That's an interesting bug. He went underground. I cannot kill him, and I'll try to fall down. Come, dude, come. If I can't kill him, then I cannot summon the boss. Unfortunately, the game is technically uneven. Darksiders Genesis invites players to use keyboard and mouse or controller. Right from the start, developers let you know that controller is the recommended option. As a die-hard PC player, I choose to use keyboard and mouse. It works really nice and pleasant. I would say that it's an experience comparable to playing on a controller. The game runs pretty smooth but has the tendency to bug out from time to time. Enemies tend to stand in place or blocks themselves out on terrain elements. The same can happen to bosses, which devalues the encounters. Players can also glitch themselves on terrain, however there are two other major infuriating issues. The first one is a reoccurring glitch. After switching characters or being rest, player's character bugs out and cannot move diagonally. No matter if it's a keyboard or controller, the bug occurs the same. It's extremely annoying during combat. If you want to reset the movement, you have to completely stop and then your character regains full movement capabilities.
Yeah. Wait, I can move.
He grabbed you?
I cannot move, or rather I cannot change the...
It bugged for me also a while before. Like the guy was moving all the time in the same direction, but after some time it debugged.
Yep.
The second great issue of Darksiders Genesis movement is platforming. Isometric view is unreliable while your character jumps or glides in the air. It's hard to judge the height of the jump or even the direction at some moments, which will lead to players falling into the chasms on multiple occasions. There is a small shadow indicator showing character's position, but it's useless while flying above gaps in terrain. The unimpressive camera placement sometimes barely shows important puzzle elements on screen, making players guess if there is a ledge off screen or an element which you can use. The commendable fact is that during my time spent in the game, I have encountered only one crash. Aiming with the mouse breaks when there are height differences between Strife and his enemies. It's noticeable especially when there are stairs involved. Inviting other players to join your game is also unnecessarily convoluted. As a Polish gamer, I have to say that from the technical standpoint, this game is not very well polished.
Kurwa, rzeczywiście!
The story of Darksiders Genesis focuses on a new task given to War and Strife by the Council. In Darksiders lore, the Council is some sort of a greater power keeping the balance between heaven and hell, so neither side becomes stronger than the other. The four horsemen, War, Strife, Fury and Death, are carrying the will of the Council. usually by murdering everything that stands in their way. During the briefing, it is told that Death and Fury are sent on their own missions, while Strife and War have to investigate Lucifer, as he is presumed to be crafting a plan threatening the balance.
Where are Death and Fury?
It matters not. Your purpose lies elsewhere.
Lucifer, Lord of all hells, yet plots humanity's downfall.
Weak though they may seem, these fledgling creatures are integral to the balance.
We believe the demon Samael, Lord of Blackstone Keep, conspires with Lucifer.
Seek out Samael. Unravel this plot. Serve the balance. Show them the price of defying the Council.
Darksiders Genesis does not use cinematics to present its plot. The game relies on comic panels, and I don't mind at all, as the quality of the presentation stands at a really high level. Before I'll dive a little bit deeper into the plot, let's talk about the lore. It is clear that Darksiders has a pretty well fleshed out lore, and this game, Genesis, explores just a part of it. For the franchise fans, it's pretty obvious, but even though I educated myself a little bit on the lore, I'm going to treat this game as its own cohesive product. There might be more people like me who started their adventure with this series from this title, and it's important that they still understand what's happening here. You see, the four horsemen were chosen by the council from the Nephilim, a race being a mix of angels and demons. Horsemen were granted an immense power, but were tasked to destroy their own race. So they did. This is a heavy burden to carry. The story of the horsemen is a tragic one, where they have to obediently destroy any life deemed by the council as threatening to the balance.
It was a great victory for the balance. For you, horsemen.
Victory?
The burden of eradicating Nephilim is explored in Genesis. Strife and War starts as this unlikely duo, two cops straight out of 90s movie being totally different. War is a soldier, hellbent on completing his task. He takes his mission very seriously. Strife presents more laid-back approach. The two argue with each other, but as the story progresses, they unveil more about their past. They also share their thoughts relating to their current goals. Two brothers start to bond.
You took that dagger from Maman's hoard. What significance does it bear?
I used it once. For a job. You don't know me anymore. Even before this, I was a killer. I didn't need a reason. I enjoyed it. I'm sure that's why the council chose me.
The past is done. Leave it. Neither of us are what we were before.
I like their jabs taken at each other, but also the serious moments. War and Strife are written pretty good. Unfortunately, the general plot of the game is not that good. Two horsemen start their journey by questioning Samael, one of the lords of hell who is currently attacked by forces of other demon lord, Moloch. From what I know, Darksiders games are full of uneasy truces between horsemen and either demons or angels. It creates some fascinating interactions. In Genesis, War and Strife end up tangled in another temporary alliance. Samael, the Hell Lord, and Volgrim, the franchise's go-to merchant, treat heroes as their errand boys, a muscle needed to get rid of their opponents. In exchange for information about Lucifer, Strife and War complete tasks given to them by those two demons. There is a problem though. About half of the assignments require to recover or steal some kind of an artifact or other MacGuffin. Writers try hard to justify each scavenge hunt, but it ends up being an excuse for players to venture into new exotic locations. After second or third item to recover, it stops being engaging. In my opinion, it's a problem and a sign of a poor writing. The grand adventure of Darksiders Genesis ends up sidelining the main task of stopping Lucifer. The focus switches to running errands for Samael. Yes, the end goal is to get information about Lucifer's whereabouts, but it's incredibly odd that the whole game feels like a side quest. It leads to a very polarizing end of the story. The ending serves to visualize the dichotomy of the narrative arc and its meaning. For the lore specialists, fan of the series, it makes sense and completes the mythos of the Darksiders world. But for people not invested in this franchise, for the newcomers, it might feel unsatisfying. Listen, I like the theme of uneasy alliances. It feels oddly in place in the hellish landscape ruled by scheming demon lords. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. War and Strife know that Samael is not honest with them, so then it's comical when they are butthurt about his behavior. It also begs to ask another question. Horsemen are about keeping the balance. In a never-ending clash of various demon lords, fighting for influence, scheming, plotting, I would say that keeping a neutral status quo would be a daunting task. Lucifer, one of the most powerful beings, is definitely an important target, but if he's going to be weakened, aren't there another demons just patiently waiting to snatch his position? War and Strife keep eliminating targets for Samael. They bring powerful artifacts to Vulgrim. So the question is, at which point Samael or Vulgrim become the next threat to the balance? Especially since, in my opinion, Strife and War are so consumed in their task that they do not ask enough questions. Maybe the answer hides beneath the lines. Maybe it's a simple realization that keeping the balance is nigh impossible task. Putting out one fire might cause two others to spawn. And that might be true. Still, I believe that horsemen holding such a responsible position should be more thorough in their research. I just think that plot takes too many shortcuts and easy ways out. The narrative makes sense from the lore standpoint. It fits in a very important place into the grand history of Darksiders. Samael is known to the fanbase of this franchise. He is another piece of the puzzle fitting into the exact right place. In the meantime, the quality of Genesis' story as a cohesively contained product suffers. This is the part of the review where I'm going to check the most recent Steam reviews for the title. I just want to see what other gamers think about the game. At the time of making this review, the score sits at 83% positive reviews out of more than 8,000 total reviews. So not the most popular game in the franchise, but the score is decent. At first glance, we can already see the pattern. Darksiders is a specific franchise. The fanbase is strong and dedicated. Fans praise the game for being similar to other titles, yet trying to take a different approach. Combat and especially brotherly banter land amongst the most popular positive features, but the highest praise is assigned to the co-op feature. Hardly a surprise. Everything is more fun with a friend, and Genesis provides a decent background for shared demon slaying fun. Negative reviews complain mainly about numerous bugs, glitches, camera work in an isometric environment, and of course platforming. So basically everything I talked about before. Few gamers trash the game especially for the jumping Leviathan puzzle, which I cannot disagree with. Few people complain about keyboard support, which from my experiences works fine. It's not great of course, but most glitches happening on keyboard and mouse also happen on the controller. This reviewer actually gave up on the spark puzzles, which I found surprising. In my honest opinion, different kinds of challenges are always welcome, but I get that it might be hard for someone to control the ball of energy. I cannot deny that the game is buggy, and from what I've seen in the reviews, this is its greatest problem. Isometric camera isn't used in any significant way, but problems caused by it, especially during platforming, prove that the implementation was not successful. Darksiders Genesis offers 30 different achievements for players to get. First things first, nothing is skippable as every level can be replayed during the single playthrough. Second thing, there are 2 achievements tied to difficulty. You will have to complete every level on hard difficulty and then also on the apocalyptic difficulty if you really want to go for full completion. To be honest, it doesn't require a lot of time. Players familiar with each chapter can skip most of the level. Also, you don't need to waste your time on collectible hunt on Apocalyptic, as by that point you will probably already have everything. Darksiders Genesis awards couple of achievements for events related to the main story. Half of the side quests available in the non-major boss chapters are also rewarded with achievements. While we are on topic of side quests, pay attention to those and try to complete most of them. Coins in the Boatman's Labyrinth are hidden behind completing specific side activities. For a game so rich in collectibles, it's a no-brainer that Darksiders Genesis requires gathering most of them for specific achievements. Completionists also have to defeat every stage in Arena and then acquire more than 70,000 points in Endless Arena Challenge. It's actually not that hard for a well-geared characters, so if you are apocalyptic difficulty ready, then this shouldn't be a problem as well. Okay, anyways, it's done. In order to unlock the secret boss, the Wicked Killington, players have to unlock all Trickster doors. Here starts the anger-inducing part of achievement completion. Finding a way to Trickster doors hidden in the void is actually pretty convoluted. It's a set of the toughest puzzles in the game. Players have to be extremely precise during these park mazes. Also, figuring out how to get to the doors requires either creative thinking or an internet guide, as it's hidden pretty well. I know it's supposed to be this well-hidden secret, but I think they overdid it. Defeating Wicked Killington awards another achievement. The last trophy asks for collecting every creature core in the game. Easy, right? You have to get at least one core from every enemy, then get the one from Wicked Killington. You don't have to raise the levels to max, it doesn't matter. So, after getting every core from the bosses and regular enemies, why the achievement doesn't pop up then? There is a secret, major creature core hidden in the void. Only now, this is not a puzzle challenge. It's entirely based on traversals and platforming. In order to get the first level of the creature core, players have to jump through pillars, decreasing in size the further they get. And oh my god, is it infuriating! Yes, after 2 hours I finally learned how to jump reliably, but the process was not enjoyable. The good information, you need only first level of the core. Achievement is completed. If you are a die-hard completionist, then there are 2 more hidden cores. Getting them is even more frustrating than getting the first one. What's even more, at some point it feels like player is going to the places not meant to be scaled up. I know it's intentional. This is the ultimate secret, the final platforming challenge, but damn, it's frustrating. Darksiders franchise holds a devoted and passionate fanbase. Genesis tries to add some innovation to the series by implementing isometric view. Sadly, developers fail to seize this opportunity as tactical options provided by new camera angle are never fully explored. On the contrary, weird camera angles hurt platforming. Still, this is a Darksiders game in its core, with satisfying, responsive combat, great puzzles relying both on players' intellect and dexterity. The art style once again leans into over-the-top high fantasy themes. Character models, animations and locations look fabulous. Darksiders Genesis is a story of 2 horsemen, War and Strife. Both characters play differently and offer various abilities to choose from. The game uses a progression system allowing for creative build making. Unfortunately, the build variety falls flat in the endgame. Chaos and anarchy forms, while extremely fun, absolutely destroy any challenge posed by boss fights. Co-op is one of the main selling points of Darksiders Genesis, and it works fine. Playing the game with a friend is a blast. It comes with a caveat as it increases the already sizable amount of bugs and glitches. Characters are written competently. Mainly War and Strife, the 2 horsemen are dripping with charisma. Their relation evolves during the story. Players get to uncover elements of their past. Unfortunately, the main story and especially the strong reliance on MacGuffins wreck plot's reception. This is a good game and a great Darksiders title, but the sheer amount of bugs, glitches and weird design choices keep it from being fully recommendable. It's a decent position for co-op enthusiasts and a strong offer for fans of the franchise, but for other gamers it's just another okay game. Hey, thank you for watching the whole video. If you liked it, then hit thumbs up, leave a comment and maybe subscribe for more content like this. If you are not a fan of my work, then let me know why. My question to you after this video is, what do you think about Darksiders series? If you are a long-time fan, are you happy with the franchise? So that's all from me. Bye.